DreAllDay.com.
What's up, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. This week's motivation is about presentation. Presentation is everything. So I'll tell you a quick story. First of all you've been inside of Starbucks before, right? Because Starbucks is everywhere. So if you go into Starbucks and they have, the little glass case where they had the sandwiches and the pastries and some foods and some drinks and all that stuff that you can get, a sandwich inside that little case is probably like $2 or $3, maybe $4 for one of those sandwiches, and they look all stale and nasty. Like if I go into Starbucks, I'm not buying a sandwich. If I go in Starbucks, I'm going to get what Starbucks specializes in, which is a coffee, maybe a pastry. I don't even drink coffee, but maybe somebody else is drinking it. One time I went into this other cafe, and it was similar to Starbucks in that they offered the exact same stuff. I walked in, and they had a hostess at the front when you walked in. So they asked, "Hey, do you want to be seated or do you want to sit at the bar?" So I said, "All right, well, seat me." So they sat me. They brought me a menu and everything. I opened up the menu and I'm looking at everything that they have, and it's just like Starbucks. They had all these different types of coffees, some espressos, and whatever other those drinks are, lattes. I don't even know what all that stuff is. But basically, they had a whole menu of that. Then they had some pastries and they had some sandwiches. Their sandwiches, I looked at the sandwiches. I saw a couple people at the tables around me eating the sandwiches. The sandwiches looked exactly the same as the ones from Starbucks. But I'm looking at the menu. These sandwiches weren't $2, $3, $4. These sandwiches were like $8, $9, and $10. Looking at the people who worked there, they all had on all black, and they had on like business casual clothing. So it'd be black slacks, a black button-up shirt with a collar, and they all had on a tie. And this is the way that they all presented themselves. And the way the place was, a lot of the tableware and the chairs and everything was stainless steel. They had these real comfortable couches. It just looked real sleek. It looked like an upscale restaurant, but all they sold was coffee, pastries, and sandwiches, similar to Starbucks. What does all this have to do with this week's motivation? Their prices were 3 times higher than Starbucks, even though they had the exact same food. In this book that I read by Napoleon Hill, he talks about this. He says you can go in 2 different restaurants and they got the exact same sandwich. The bread comes from the same baker. The meat comes from the same butcher. The milk comes from the same farm. The coffee's coming from the same coffee beans or wherever coffee comes from. But the prices can be completely different, all because one presents itself one way, the other presents itself another way. The way that you present yourself, ladies and gentlemen, raises or lowers the perceived value that other people see in you. Now understand this. When you walk outside or you go to the mall or you walking around in school or you in anywhere that you go, any business that you go to, you don't have time to sit and get to know every single person's character that you meet, right? You only have a split second or a few minutes, maybe even an hour, which is not a lot of time in this grand scheme of life, to learn about another person. So a lot of the way that we perceive other people just goes off the way that we read them, what we see. Basically how seeing that person makes us feel. Because you don't have time. If I walk in a restaurant and I'm dressed the way that I'm dressed in this video, people are going to perceive me one way. But if I walk in that restaurant and I have a 3-piece suit on, people are going to perceive me completely different, even though I'm the exact same person. But what do they know? They don't know anything. They only know what they can see. And the way that I present myself can very well play a huge difference in the way those people treat me, whether I can have a certain conversation with a certain person, whether a certain person even likes me because of the way that I present myself. What all you can take away from that is this. If you want people to perceive you a certain way, you need to present yourself. You need to put yourself in another person's shoes and look at yourself from outside of yourself and say, what would I think about me if I saw me walking into a room right now? What would I think about me if I was trying to get this business deal done and I talked the way that I'm talking? What would I think about me if I had those pants on and those shoes on and this shirt on and I walked this way that I've been walking? How would somebody perceive me? Because that perception, like I said, can raise or lower your value based on what other people are seeing in you, because they don't have time to get to know you. You might be the greatest person in the world, but if you present yourself a certain way, people are going to perceive that, and that's all they got to go off of. Does that mean you need to spend a whole bunch of money on your clothes, or that you need to go to a different barber and spend $100 on your haircut? No, absolutely not. It just means that you need to present yourself in your best light based on the way that you want other people to pick up on you. You want people to pick up on you in a certain way, you got to present yourself that way. You got to walk, talk, and act and think that way, and that's the way they're going to pick up on you. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.
Thanks for checking out this video. Make sure you follow all my top content up here.
Follow me on all your favorite social networks right over here, and make sure you are subscribed to catch all the new content I put on this channel every single day. Work on your game.